in order at 5 p.m. We begin with a roll call. Heidi?
Just 1 second.
Sure.
Let me get the volume. Turn it down. 1 second, please. Why are they all kicking? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Chair Kevin Dayton,
Here.
Erica Graham, Mr. Ben Beasley,
Here.
Ms. Ashika Shadeo, Mr. Adam Gonzalez, Vice Chair,
Here.
Ethelyn Thomas, and Mr. Kurt Obermeyer.
Here.
You have a forum.
Great. All right, this is the opportunity for people who want to talk up to 3 minutes on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to item C, review and adopt minutes of March 1st, 2023 meeting. I did see one change to it on item J. There's just a typo. The committee conducted a review.
Thank you. I won't retract that. but-
Are there any other comments about changes needed to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve them?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Review of the Citizens Oversight Committee roles and responsibilities.
That will be, Heidi, could you put this on there?
Give me 1 second.
I believe y'all have a copy of this in your handouts there, but
Are you
I'll,
going to be doing this, Brian?
yes.
Okay.
It says that I've been disabled from screen sharing.
Let's see here, we can fix that.
Thank you.
Is that Ralph Caputo who's come on?
Yes.
Yes. I can get started. Well, I think everybody has a copy.
It's gonna make me leave the meeting and reopen it. I just got a new computer, so it's
Okay.
not set up and I have.
We all have the binders, so we can just do it the old way on paper.
Right. And then for those member of if anybody's streaming this live, you can see a copy of the agenda and all the attachments. They are on our board website. Right now, we're reviewing the Citizens Oversight Committee roles and responsibilities, which is item D on the agenda. So I did want to just spend a few minutes going over the roles of the Citizens Oversight Committee, all of your roles. We do have some new members, so I thought it'd be a good time just to kind of review what that is. So we're all kind of on the same page, and maybe answer any questions that you have as I go through this. Feel free to ask me. So this is a presentation. Typically, Lozano Smith is our legal counsel. They typically do this presentation for us. This is a presentation that they prepared. So the purpose of the Citizens Oversight Committee is to inform the public, to advise the public, and to review and report on expenditures directly related to the school bond, or in this case, we're looking at Measure I. Some of the common activities of a Citizens Oversight Committee is to review annual performance financial audits, which I think you all saw at the last meeting. Inspect facility grounds. You can take a look at the projects that you were all reviewing here, just with prior approval of the superintendent or myself. Review deferred maintenance plans if any exist. Review district's efforts to maximize bond proceeds, and then other activities directed by the board, and that's the Board of Education, that would be our school. The committee shall provide oversight to make sure that the bond revenues are used only for construction and reconstruction, rehabilitation, and replacement of school facilities. So that's the primary purpose of the bond funds. And your role in the COC is to make sure that as you review those expenditures, they're for that purpose. It may include furnishings, equipment for schools, acquisition or lease of real property. And ensure that no funds are used for teacher administrative salaries, with the exception of those particular salaries related to the bond program. So you may see some salaries in there, but as long as those are related to the management and oversight of the facilities in the bond program, those are appropriate, but nothing outside of that. Items that are not within the scope of the Citizens Oversight Committee is participating in the actual bond sale or issuance process related to bond sales. Determining how bond funds shall be spent, that's under the discretion of the school board. Participating in the bid process for contractors or consultants on the projects. And committee members should seek superintendent's permission before visiting job sites or construction projects, as I mentioned. The limits on the committee members. So committee members must abide by the government code provisions which prohibit public officials from having any financial interest in contracts made in their official capacity. So if there's anything to personal gain or anything that's a conflict of interest, you would let us know. But as a committee member, those are the ethics which you operate under. And then this committee is also subject to the Political Reform Act of 1974 and the conflict of interest provisions. So that there's a document that you may see every year. You may be familiar with Form 700 that you kind of outline your economic interests. As a committee member, that's a process that you'll adhere to as well. And just to go into a little bit on the regular meetings. So this is a Brown Act meeting. So this is subject to the Brown Act. As you can see, the formal nature of it, agendas, all of those particular things that we must do to comply with the Brown Act. As the question you had earlier around the quorum. So I'll go over that. But all meetings of the committee shall be called and noted, held and conducted as related to the provisions of the Brown Act. All meetings shall be publicized by the board in the same manner as the meetings of the board. So that's why we have this. We have public comment available via Zoom, so the public can participate in person. They can participate remotely. There is also you just don't have to join audio at the bottom. And also okay. They also can do written public comment. The committee may adopt additional procedural rules, and we have. So we do have Mr. Dayton operating as the chair, who kind of runs the meeting. And that's particularly one thing that we've done. And there may be some other things. If you have comments or questions about how the committee is run, feel free to bring those up and we can address those. Minutes for this meeting is held, and those will be brought back to the committee for your approval at every subsequent meeting. And then quorum and voting. So how this works. So the quorum exists when the majority of the number of the committee members that have been appointed to the committee are present in the time of the meeting. So we currently have 7 appointed members. In that case, 4 would equate to a quorum. So this evening we have 4 members here out of the 7 possible committee members. And each committee member is entitled to 1 vote. And an affirmative vote of the majority of those committee members presents a voting is required for the committee to take place. So that just means that we have to have a majority of you vote in order for the voting to be valid and subsequent to the meeting of the quorum, which we, like I said, 4 out of 7 will meet the quorum.
Quick question: if we were fully, staff from committee, we have a vacancy right now. It would be 8, so we need 5.
Correct. That's correct.
In attendance.
Yeah, and that's governed. A couple of things. So part of the quorum is established by the Brown Act, but also the bylaws that we have, particular to this committee, outline what a quorum. Just to be a little bit clear on that, because we could have the minimum requirement is 7 committee members, but the board could appoint, school board could appoint additional members to that. There's no there's no maximum to that, but the minimum is 7, and the groups are listed on the front of that agenda. Okay, so is there any questions about the roles of the COC, kind of the purview, anything related to that, Brown Act, anything that I can answer?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, a question on the Form 700s. Does the district have a policy in place that has the oversight committee included in that requirement?
Let me double check that and get back to you.
Are there any questions? And I think if you want to look more at the legal authority for the existence of this committee, you would go to the California Education Code. I know it's mentioned there, 15278, et cetera, and you can go and look at what was put in there by the legislature. And that was put in before there was Proposition 39 on the ballot in 2000, which under certain circumstances, which Monterey Peninsula USD has done, you can get bond measures passed at 55% rather than 2/3. And one of the things that was included to get that through, get voters to approve it, was inclusion of an oversight committee. And believe it or not, before then, there were school districts in the 1990s that were inappropriately spending money on teacher salaries and putting it in the general fund, and that's why that whole language is there. You never hear about that sort of thing anymore, but it used to happen. All right, with no public here for public comment on D, we will move to E.
And we will be there with just one.
Okay,
Okay, so now I can share my screen. Thank you guys for that. Sorry about that. Different computer, not used to it.
no problem. And also a different time here, you'll notice here, no measure P anymore for review. That old 2010 bond measure is gone.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. So going forward, it will strictly just be Measure I.
So why don't we review the financials for Measure I that are included here? And maybe do a quick introduction, Ryan, and we can just go through page by page as we usually do, and anybody can ask questions about an expenditure that they're uncertain about.
Sure.
Before we get started, I do have one question about language. I'll look through some of the things and I noticed that the term modernization is being used. But it's also, it's being used to campus, it's being used as an adjective for restrooms. And then sometimes it's a standalone kind of word. Just so there's no ambiguity, so we're a little bit more, should we be more specific about what's being modernized? Or should we call it if it's Wi-Fi, should we call it tech modernization? Just so that it looks clear, if that way we're transparent in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, modernization is a general term. Most of our campuses, it falls under the category of modernizations because we're not building new schools for the most part. We're modernizing the existing facilities. So you'll see that in the project types, it will list, if it's a technology component that may say modernization, and then it will say technology modernization, or it may say restroom modernization, which means, we're
Sure.
Fixing up the restrooms, our classroom modernizations, or just general campus modernizations, which can encompass a lot of things like painting, doing pathways, fencing, new flooring, replacing fixtures, cabinetry, and those sorts of things. But those typically will be spelled out in the individual project, or at least in the description of the expenditures.
Sure, and that's just the language that encompasses those things. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Thank you. So just a brief overview, you can go to the next page, please. Measure I was voter approved in 2018, and the total voter approved amount was 213 million. As it stands today, there's about $95 million still remaining in issuance or available bond issuance available to the district. And there were two issuance done at the in 2018. And there was a short-term amount that was issued of about 14 or 13.6 million. And then there was, which we call Measure I Series A. And that just means it was a financing mechanism that we used so that 13 million would be paid off within the first 10 years. And so we're considering that short-term financing. So things that fall under, like technology modernizations, anything that doesn't have a 30-year lifespan would go into short-term financing. And then Measure I Series B, which is around 104 million. Those are expenditure types that will be a lot longer than the 30 years that it will take the repayment of those bonds. And you'll see those expenditures broken down as we go through the report. You'll see them either categorized as Measure I Series A or Measure I Series B. Okay, and Mr. Data, I can turn it over to you. I think
All right.
we've done page turns here.
Yes, what we usually do here is go page by page. And since nobody's online, well, it looks like it actually matches up.
Yes,
We'll start with the page numbered at the bottom 3. And what you do is just look at each one. Any questions? Page 4. Yes, a question would be, I see actually for a few of the HVAC engineering jobs, it's presented as a negative. Any reason, what happened?
So what happened was we applied for and got CalShape state funding from the Department of Energy. And initially, we had assessments done and we put them in the bond Fund 21 expenditure. As soon as our CalShape grant money came through, we set up these assessments and the work to be done in another fund. And so we moved that expense out of Fund 21 and into the new fund that is specially earmarked for this work.
Great. I don't know if anybody knew this, but each school district applied for, received a state grant to help pay for better ventilation with
That's exactly
new
what it is.
HVAC.
Yes.
That was good.
And I noticed that amount was the same for each site. 2061, right, or whatever the amount was.
The
So it's fine,
763.63 was an initial assessment that they did for all sites. So not every site in the district is going to get that moved over because not all of them qualified for the grant. Some of them already had major work done and did not need new thermostats, new assessment, new ventilation setup, whatever. So only the sites that qualified under the grant got their expenses moved over to the other funding. Which was the majority of them, but not all of them.
But it wasn't, I mean, for example, one facility might be a huge facility, one might be smaller, but it's mean the same amount going to that.
Right,
site.
that was the initial assessment, and then you'll see later, there may be, maybe in the next quarter, there was a couple of $1,000 that was also moved, but that came later. We're using a contractor to go in and do these assessments, so the 763.63 was like the initial general assessment of every site.
And it was uniform across.
Yeah. Any questions about page 4? Page 5? Any questions? Page 6? Any questions? Page 7? Any questions? Page 8. Questions? Page 9. All right, that's it for that. So now we will go to item F, review warrant activity for Measure I. And this is where you look at who is receiving the money. Page 11. Any questions? Page 12. Any questions? Page 13. Any questions? Page 14. Any questions? Page 15. Actually, on 14, before we go on, just to, we should confirm in case anybody in the public is watching, the furniture and equipment, it has been determined that bond measure money can be spent on student laptops. And that's where you use the short-term bonds, because it was a little ridiculous when allegedly LAUSD 10 years ago was using 30-year bonds to buy laptops. This school district got on top of that and made sure that that wasn't going to be happening. Page 15. Any questions? Page 16. Questions? Page 17. Any questions? Page 18. Any questions? Page 19. Any questions? Page 20, continuing on with all these engineering fees. This is all the money that was that was paid for, I'm assuming by the state grant, so you just had to take it out for all of the
Exactly.
individual facilities. Okay, you can look through this pretty fast here. Okay, well, okay, so let's go to page 22 where we get to expenditures again. Any questions? Page 23. Any questions? Page 24. The security costs, Island Elementary interim housing. That a security guard?
No, that's related to construction, security and of the campus. We had quite a bit of vandalism, putting new windows in. Kids were, assuming there were kids breaking new windows, so we put up a camera system there that's monitored, that you might see like in construction sites, gonna have the.
CCTV.
Yeah, they're like on a pole, multiple cameras.
Page 25. Questions? Page 26. Questions? Page 27. There's your legal fees for Monterey High School field. Page 28. Any questions? Page 29. Any questions? Page 30. Questions? Page 31. Any questions? 32. Any questions? Page 33. Any questions? Page 34. Any questions? Page 35. Any questions? Page 36. Any questions? Page 37. Any questions? Page 38. Questions? Page 39. Questions? Page 40. Any questions? Page 41. Any questions? Page 42.
Any idea what the hazardous waste was?
Page 41.
Yeah, Colton Middle School. Is it like, it was in asbestos, was it? Or lead pipes or something old.
What page were?
It was page number 42. Lake Center, Colton Middle School, transition to Colton TK. -8.
Right, waste removal.
A6 hazardous waste removal. I was just curious. I didn't mean to slow us down, but
Yeah, it could be a combination of several different things. Typically, schools as old as ours, there is a lot of
you,
asbestos, so it's typically what it is.
okay.
Page 43. Any questions? Page 44. Questions? 45. Questions? Page 46. Any questions? Page 47. All right, here, with nobody here for the public. We will move on to G, which actually is on the agenda. It says discuss and adopt annual report from 2021. For those of you who seem to remember doing that, we did do that. So this is the 2021-2022 fiscal year annual report. And we've gone through all these. Why don't we just on our own, just flip through the pages and make sure you don't see a spelling error or anything like that.
While everyone's doing that, just as a reminder, this was reviewed at the last Citizens Oversight Committee meeting. This item this evening is an action item, so you all will vote to adopt this. If you do choose to adopt this, this will go to the board or school board at a future meeting for their review, and we'll notify all of you when that happens, so that if you choose to be present while at that board meeting, we would be happy to have you there. But as the one deliverable from this committee is the annual report. And so this is looking at the year back. So this is looking at the fiscal activity for a full year for 2021 to 2022.
Yeah, let's just look through this. I know we went through this and had some minor typo adjustments. Let's just check.
Here's a question.
Anyone found anything so far?
Nope.
We need a couple more minutes.
All right, are we all set? Let's have any comments? So motion to adopt the annual report and send it off to the school board.
I'll move.
Is there a second? All in favor?
I confirm who seconded it, because I think you guys. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. Item H, future meeting dates for 2023. Yes, we now have switched from 4:30 to 5 PM. So that's a change there. Does anybody have any issues regarding those two dates? All right, committee member comments. The only thing I would say here is we need to get the senior citizens position vacancy filled, so we have a full oversight committee. And we're gonna try to make sure everybody can attend these meetings. We did get a quorum today, but it's good to have 100% attendance. Any other comments? All right, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you.